Hey guys, quick impromptu Steve Season 3 changes video. I've got an outline for a script, and I've tried recording this like 6 times, so we're just going to ramble through it. It's not going to be the happiest video on the planet, I'll let you know now. Let's start with his new move. This is weave 1+2. This entire video is going to be plagued with an idea of a lack of playtesting and potential budgetary restrictions or restraints, or whatever you want to call them. And this move might be the most emblematic of that. So essentially what we've got here is a high from his weaves. It's +8 on normal hit. On counter hit, you get a knockdown for a guaranteed forward 2. Or the reason why this feels emblematic of budgetary constraints and no playtesting is it comes out in 14 frames, so you don't get any speed advantage over left weave 1, right weave 1, right weave 2. There's no speed bonus to this move, even though it's a counter hitting tool, presumably. You just need to ask yourself, what is a situation you can confidently use this in that doesn't require prior lab work? Like, is there a amalgamation of potential opponent responses that would lead you to naturally say, oh yeah, this makes sense? Probably not. Like, if I'm doing like down forward 1 into left weave 1-1, this serves multiple purposes. Like, if they do a linear poke, I'm going to avoid the poke and I'm going to, you know, mid them. And if they sidestep duck, which is very common against Steve, I'm also going to hit them. And it's a 2 hit. So if I want, I can do left weave 1 forward 1, and you can actually confirm, hit confirm this final hit. That's 31 damage off of a mid that's confirmable into plus frames. Fantastic. Whereas this is just going to get launched. It's just going to lose. At the wall, theoretically, you're going to get like good payoff for this, and maybe you'll land it every now and then, but the amount of things you're needing to consider means that at a low level, this move just seems bad on the tin. I presume a lot of Steve players aren't even going to know it's got a counter hit property if they're not looking at the patch notes. And at a higher level, it doesn't have enough coverage to necessarily even be worthwhile. So I don't really understand this. Another point where I don't believe it's been playtested properly, it's +8, but if you hit it from tip range, your stomp mix is going to whiff. This isn't something I'm mad about, but it feels like the intent of +8, if we're just talking intent, is to give you mix. And we already had this issue in Season 2, where they've given Steve duck forward 2 and peekaboo 2 as line hard transitions, +5 on block. So the presumption that a new Steve player is going to make is, oh, if I'm in neutral, I can start a mix-up in Lionheart by doing these moves. Awesome, that's great. And then they slowly advance up the ranks and eventually run into like a Reina player or a character with a decent, solid backdash by default. And they realize that their mix just doesn't work, and they don't understand why it doesn't work, because sometimes it feels like it works, and it's because up back 2 moves forward far enough that the mix will work, but duck forward 2 and peekaboo 2 don't work for reasons. So it feels like the intent that developers are ascribing is, here, have this easy way to mix, and then the implementation of said mix is scuffed in a way where it's inconsistent, it's unreliable. So what was the point? You've just made moves that were interesting less interesting for the sake of a mix that only works half the time, and then high level players just never use it for that purpose. So I don't know what they see in that, and that seems to be the same case here. I don't understand. It is what it is. It is what it is. Furthermore, this animation, does this ring any bells, anyone? To me, this looks exactly like the placeholder up back 2 animation that they used to have in Tekken 7. I believe they might have it in T8, I'm not sure. Characters who didn't have an actual up back 2 attack were all universally given an animation that looks just like this. It was +8 on hit as well. It was punishable on block. It was a high. Have they just, like, frame blended this into weave? Is that what's happened here? There's every chance that's the case. I don't know. Could be a conspiracy. You guys can be the judge. Next thing, next big change, this might be the biggest change of the whole patch, is Albatross from Lionheart. Yes, you saw that correctly. Steve just got 10x more annoying. This is going to be annoying at all levels, but in particular at lower levels, and probably at the highest levels, because when you get to the intermediate levels, I think Steve players start trying to rely a lot more on their fundamentals, and they start using this predominantly to bait out whiffs rather than just throwing it out willy-nilly. So they'll see you whiff, and then they'll react, and they'll do the appropriate whiff punish, be it line heart 1 or line heart 2, or a guard break if it's like a big running move that's whiffed, right? As you get a little bit further up, I think players return to monkey and they start using it like how they used to use it, or how newer Steve players would probably use it, which is actually just using it as a keep out option, like actually doing a slight micro delay timing. Your opponent notices that you're doing the over here animation, they see nothing come out, and then they dash in because they think, oh, okay, he's going to duck in and he's going to be blocking and I can mix him up, or he's going to do a weave and he's going to block. And instead, you wait that smidge, you let a line heart 2 rip like an absolute wanker. If you're implementing that, being able to then do this, it's so annoying because it actually advances further than line heart retreats. So you see the distance I'm at from Steve right now. And for those who don't know, for those at the back of the room, if you hold forward, you go into peekaboo. Now, peekaboo doesn't have a scary mix-up low necessarily, but it does have a low that can be mixed up with a mid, peekaboo down forward 2, which is an elbow that's -10 that launches crouches. So you're essentially being punished for Steve retreating to full screen because he might actually mix you up now, which is crazy. Like, you want to approach, so you're standing at a range where Albatross is naturally going to allow him to end up in your face, and even if you react to him coming in with Albatross and you do like a power crush or a button or whatever, he's got Albatross 2, which is a heat engager, and then heat obviously is a launcher. He's got double spin. It's just silly, and Albatross into nothing, obviously. This is going to be so annoying. It's going to be like fighting ranked Lars players who like to do all of his stance shenanigans. We're going to be dealing with that. So this is going to be really strong. It's going to be really annoying. It's going to turn the best evasive move in the game, up back 3, into an even better evasive move. And furthermore, it works off of his punish transitions too. Which is it's just one more thing to think about, you know? One more thing to think about. Speaking of, he's now got his generic 1+2 throw in Lionheart. This is a fairly annoying change in my opinion. Now, the reason why they implemented this change, I believe, is because they saw people asking for it, which is understandable. But people were mostly asking for it in a time prior to Lionheart 1+2 being a armor breaker move, and being faster than it used to be. It used to be 20 frames, and it didn't used to beat Power Crush or anything like that. Now it beats Power Crush, it beats parries, it's a normal hit launcher, and it's 2 frames faster than it used to be. So the thing you would think in your head you're using the throw for, that main issue that it's trying to plug, and those of you who are doing the Lionheart into peekaboo tech that was patched out early on in the game's life cycle to try and accomplish the same thing, doing your back 1-2 into a throw to beat a Power Crush, there's less reason to do it. Or there's less reason for that to exist now. That hole has kind of been plugged. Because at a higher level, essentially all that's happening when Steve goes into Lionheart is he's using Lionheart 1 99% of the time, or he's doing nothing. And then like 2% of the time he's running mix. That's the general gist. So you're using the 1+2 as a serious call out. The throw gets the benefit of being fast enough that you can't really fuzzy it with Lionheart 1. Lionheart 1's 14, the throw is 12. So it's got that. It's also going to be harder for your opponent to necessarily reactively launch punish it if they do duck it. But that just feels lazy. It doesn't feel like any good reason for the throw to now exist. Realistically, they need to rework the stance. I'll probably try and link some Kashan videos somewhere because he's got some really cool ideas as to how they could potentially rework the stance that would orient it around Steve's counter hit identity more. But this just seems like something that's going to be a nightmare for lower rank players. And then for intermediate to higher rank players, it's probably not going to be too consequential. It's just going to be another somewhat lower risk option from the stance he's got access to. That doesn't make the mind games any more interesting, because Lionheart 1 still exists in its current state. You can't really do much while that still exists, and realistically I would have preferred if he got a poke low that would have been less rewarding, like a super low damage poke low, like even like as down 1, something like this would have been preferable to a throw. But at the same time, also nerfing the shit out of Lionheart 1, because right now that's the bottleneck for this stance. So yeah, he's got a throw from Lionheart. It's not great. It's not bad. It's annoying. It's annoying for everyone. Peekaboo down 2. This is a new change that I actually approve of. This is something I've wanted since T7. Anyone who's in the Steve Fox Discord server would know I've waxed poetic about the idea of Steve being able to transition into like Albatross or Duck or Full Crouch from Peekaboo down 2 in the same way that characters like Kazuya and Asuka can with their comparable moves. So we've now got this historically borderline useless 28 frame low. It always has had a use case in the same way those moves kind of do, even ignoring the cancel, which is it's a advancing high crush counter hit launching low. So if your opponent is sticking out a move like a Steve 121 at this range, which is a common range for you to find advancing jab strings, bang, you can counter hit launch them for it. But now you can confirm. You can do the down 2, and then at the last second you can confirm, hey, did they actually stick any buttons out? Or are they gonna potentially react to this and punish me for it? And you can cancel it, which is then going to create these really fun kind of fake timing mind games and stuff, because it's going to be difficult for your opponent to reliably react, fuzzy, or just straight up block. Notice that you haven't actually committed to it and then stick a button out. They might be able to train themselves to react to this, and then regardless of whether a block happens or not, stick out like the safe component of their while standing punish. So say like if they've got a while standing 4-4 that they would usually use to punish the move with, they just stick out the while standing 4 component. Or maybe a character like King, who just by default has a good single hit while standing 4, this is going to be harder to get away with. But in first to 2 with the pace of Tekken 8, you're going to be able to get away with stuff. You'll be able to do stuff like this into counter hit confirm while standing 1-2. That might create hesitation on a follow-up, or it might prompt some movement. Maybe you're going to do something like up back 2 out of it. Maybe you're going to somehow reach layer 17 trillion in a first to 50 because you play in Pakistan, and you're going to be doing stuff like this. Whatever it is, this is a cool change. I agree with this change. I'm on board for this change. I like this change. Be sure to experiment with this one. Next thing I want to talk about is his down back 1+2 power crush. This is kind of a whatever change. It's now a guaranteed forward 2 after the fact, so your damage output is buffed, I think. You don't get heat anymore. What I will note, quick tip for those of you trying to use this, if you use it at max range, it looks like it'll whiff, but if you do a super fast forward 2, you should always get it, I believe. You need to think of it kind of like when you do punch parry. How if you want to get a forward 2 afterwards, you basically need to do it as early as possible. It's not one of those situations where it's a knockdown at a distance and you need to dash deeper to get the forward 2, because he slumps very quickly. Your opponent will slump very quickly. So try and get your forward 2 in as quickly as possible. It's also not the same knockdown as this, or at least the frames aren't the same. With this, you can get a Albatross 2 off of his Weave 1+2. But for Power Crush, you can't. So keep that in mind. Speaking of punch parry, this is not an intended change at all. And this drives me absolutely mad that this wasn't noticed somehow, but I can't be too surprised. You can no longer punch parry from flicker. This is clearly a bug. So if you can see there on my command history, I'm going to do back 1, and then I'm going to do a parry input. And I got a sway. Yeah, this is all flicker transitions will do this. And raw flicker as well will do this. So if you want to do punch parry from back 1, one of his most common punch parry setup options conceivable, you need to do essentially the same thing as an instant while standing 1. You need to do a crouch cancel into punch parry. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Namco, please fix. Please fix. Moving right along, he's also everyone's affected by the heat changes, obviously. So essentially what they did is they've reduced the scaling, the hit scaling for aerial attacks after a heat launch. I'm not meaning damage, I'm meaning the amount of hits you can get. So before, everyone was doing these crazy long 50-second combos. If you've ever been hit by a Dragonov while standing 1+2 in the current year, in heat, you know exactly what I mean. Steve had similarly lengthy combos. Now you're going to be doing something like this. This is a combo from Ascalon in the Steve Fox Discord into an ender, just like a standard B&B. You'll probably be getting around 57 to 58 damage. I don't know if this route is necessarily consistent, but we are going to have to do a little bit of lab work. I think you can just do like a up back 2 B&B so long as you don't do the while standing 1. So this will work. So if you don't want to think about it, just do your up back 2 B&B combo route and that'll work just fine. Also, a lot of characters were affected by installs. Steve doesn't have an install, obviously, so he technically comes out on top in that sense. There's going to be characters who have installs who are nerfed. Quite a few of them are ones that Steve kind of struggles to fight, like Claudio. So that's, I guess, an indirect buff to Steve. Furthermore, Rage Arts now up to frame 7 of their activation can be counter hit, which is great for Steve. It's going to be a lot of instances where Steve is plus, the opponent's mashing Rage Art, and back one is just going to frame trap kill them. Fantastic. All in all, I didn't write any kind of conclusion or anything to this rant. It's a bit of a nothing burger patch for Steve. He is just more annoying now. That's kind of my thoughts on this patch. He's got some really niche stuff that is kind of funny. I'll show you this real quick. They changed the hitbox on his Sonic Fang, which inadvertently makes crossing up after Duck 2 super easy now. You can just do this into whatever, I don't know. You can get some really funny double mix-ups if you know what you're doing. Double cross-ups where you do Duck 2, Sonic Fang to cross up once, sidestep left forward 2 to cross up a second time. And then if you're on a floor break stage, you've got enough frames to hit them with a 4-4-2 to floor break, which is just for style points. There's no practical application for that. So I just recorded that whole video and realized I forgot to talk about his flicker 1, down 1, and flicker 1-1 no longer being jailing on block. This might seem like a bad change to some players. I'm fairly neutral to positive on it. Reason being, this is kind of been a free flowchart for a lot of Steve players at a lot of ranks. 2-1 on block into flicker 1 down 1 near the wall, or flicker 1 albatross 2. But now that this no longer jails, you can no longer get away with that for free, which forces you to do stuff like flicker 1 forward 1, or if you're near a wall, this actually becomes more valuable because people know that it no longer jails, or once they get experience in the matchup with the current changes, they'll know that it no longer jails. It allows the defender to make the call out they want to make out and not necessarily feel like it's too dire or too difficult, because as it currently stands, this move right here is neutral on block. When you're in heat, you get chip's been nerfed a lot since launch, but you get a reasonable bit of chip just letting this whole string rip. And the whole thing together was jailing prior. If you did it on no delay timing, it was always jailing. Furthermore, Steve players typically are delaying. They typically are already doing this because they're fishing for that second counter hit. So what this is going to mean is you can't just be willy-nilly about your options here. If you want to mash out an option, it's going to be better to do something like this. Near a wall, maybe something like this, although there is a larger window for, like, say, a medium speed high crush immediate timing button to potentially beat you there. But I do think that this is a good change overall. I think it's going to force Steve players to use their brains a little bit more, and we can't take it for granted. 2-1 has been buffed massively in this game. They haven't made any changes to the frames. All they've done is buff the range, and that in itself is a huge deal. Furthermore, in this patch, I believe they've buffed the consistency of the tracking on this string, so you can have less instances of the first hit connecting and the second hit whipping on block or on hit. So don't look at this as a bad nerf. It's a necessary nerf. He needs more nerfs, not less. And it's one that is it promotes a healthier interaction between both players, both for you having to use your brain a little bit more, and your opponent actually being rewarded for having the right idea. Because trying to punish Steve is difficult. That's part of how he's designed, and the flicker jab strings were no exception to that. If anything, they were quite extraordinary in how they function. So this is a good change. Yes, 5-star. Thank you. All in all, I'm not too stoked about how they've changed Steve. It feels like budgetary constraints and a lack of care are really name of the game for this patch, at least insofar as Steve is concerned. He needs nerfs, and he needs his power budget to be more evenly distributed, especially as far as it comes with moves like Lionheart 1. Ideally, there are reversions to moves like Peekaboo 2 and Duck Forward 2. And his punch parry desperately needs a fix. His back 1 bug is still in the game, where back 1 into flicker guard doesn't work, so you get punished by I-12 moves or whatever. I don't know. It is what it is. It is what it is. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the patch though. Happy hunting with the other characters in the game. And I guess we'll see how the future pans out. It might not be looking too bright for Steve right now, but I'm hopeful that as the season progresses, we might get some good news. Fingers crossed, toodles.